Velkommen tilbage og indenfor til Øresundsdagen, hvor vi skal have fokus på de svenske selskaber. Nogle af de selskaber, som er ledende, kan man sige, inden for hver af deres felter. Der bliver også et ekstra selskab, som vi har med os fra Island, nemlig Østsjø, her om en halv times tid. Men først og fremmest så vil jeg byde velkommen nu til crowdfunding-platformen FundedByMe. Og det er Daniel Debocci, som er med os fra Stockholm. Og den platform har jeg selv kendt rent faktisk i mange år, som jo værende en af de førende inden for crowdfunding, som er det her fænomen, hvor man går ud i meget tidlige virksomheder og skaffer sig kapital ved at i virkeligheden ikke lade sig børsnotere, for det er man ikke klar til, men man går ud og får mindre indskud fra mange private via online-kanaler. Og det er i virkeligheden noget, som vi også synes er spændende i Dansk Aktionærforening, det med at demokratisere, det med at få flere muligheder for at rejse kapital til virksomheder. Så her er det jo ret interessant, at vi har en virksomhed, som er rent faktisk børsnoteret i Stockholm, og som arbejder med crowdfunding tidligere i segmentet, om man vil. Så Daniel Debocci, welcome to you. We will do this in English, and I'm happy to have you here. And as I know, it's on the Zoom platform. Good to see you. Good to have you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for this very professional presentation. I wish I could be in Copenhagen, but we're not allowed right now, so I'm going to stay put here instead.
Yeah, and I would say to you that next year, hopefully, we have invented this Investor Week for the week 46, and hopefully next year you can come and visit us here present here in Copenhagen. And just to let you know, the debate has been around also the Swedish market. What can we learn here in Denmark, but also the other way around, and how can we actually merge the two markets maybe even more? Building bridges also on online platforms as this. So it's very good to have you here, and personally also I'm curious to learn about both you and the company. So please give us your presentation.
Awesome, thank you. No, I definitely agree that there needs to be more bridges between our countries on these levels. Obviously, FundedByMe, we took a global approach from day one. It's been a very costly and very intense project, but for us it's been valuable to be in several geographies in Europe, in the Nordics, in Asia, in Dubai, South Africa soon, because we believe that crowdfunding is a global phenomenon. I'm going to dig into that right now with my presentation, and I hope you're going to see this. I'm going to share this right now with you guys. So here's my presentation. I'm going to make this full screen so you can see it. Can you see the full screen? Because I'm having a flag here.
Not full screen yet, but
all right. I'm going to do it like this instead. If it's fine for you guys, let's just a second, because I have a full screen issue here. So how about I'm going to do this instead? I'm going to share it as it is only, and you can still see it, right?
That's fine.
All right, perfect. So sorry for this technology, right? Even though I feel that I should know this. So basically, whenever I start giving a speech, I talk about possibilities, right? And I took this image of the internet just to show a young Bill Clinton meeting Kennedy in the White House lawn. By the definition, you can see all the people shaking hands with the president, of course, are good graduates and important, but you never know who could be the next big thing. In business, there's the same thing. Like you can put all your money into the next Facebook without knowing it, or you could put your money in the wrong company. My entire point is that the earlier you enter, the better you will do. My name is Daniel Debocci. I'm the CEO and co-founder of FundedByMe. I've been doing this now for 10 years. There's us, Investor in Finland, and Crowdcube in England, who've been doing this for such a long period. So in a way, us three platforms are in a way the granddaddies of crowdfunding in Europe. FundedByMe started with we were quite impressed by Kickstarter Indigo in the US, but we didn't want to do donation-based crowdfunding in Europe. So we pivoted very early on into equity crowdfunding, which is the method where you invest in companies and you become shareholder rather than donating and then receiving a watch. As you mentioned, we are a group. We are listed on the Swedish stock market. We are traded daily, hourly. And we consist out of the major company, which is FundedByMe.com, the platform. We also own Leica Consulting, which works with investor relations and offering for pre-IPOs and listed companies. And we are also co-owners in a company called FundedByMe, which has over 25,000 female investors. So the group has been listed since March 2019, quite a long while. The share price for us at least hasn't behaved accordingly for what we think is fair, but eventually we believe that the market will come to a point where they see how much good we're doing. And especially in this year, in 2020, crowdfunding has outperformed the regular markets. But also on EU level now, there's been decisions made on the future of crowdfunding, which are extremely favorable for us and all our colleagues who are trying to run this industry. So our summary so far is that we have funded over 650 companies in various ways, majority to equity crowdfunding. We raised over 67 million euros, which I think is a lot of money. And I'm going to dig into statistics a bit further in, because I think that's very, very important for you guys to understand crowdfunding. A lot of our credo is driven by the fact that we want people to engage very early on, or as early as possibly can be done, or as early as possible they dare. But the point taken here is that the average person, the millions of people who are the wealthy middle class, I'm quite sure there's a few millions of those also in Denmark, even though I'm not sure how many people live in Denmark. But let's say it's at least 500,000 to 1 million Danish people could fit the criteria, meaning that here's a person who has funds, who would want to invest in the next big thing, but is not, because the possibilities to invest in something early are very, very, very limited. And as mentioned before, there's a lot of proof now historically that nobody could believe that certain companies could become the next big thing. So basically, crowdfunding has at least on FundedByMe, it has a digital global tool which works 24 hours a day, where you can raise money for people. On the left side in this image, you can see Globy Drones, which closed successfully, a tech company from Stockholm, run by Matilda and Helena, very extremely well-awarded female entrepreneurs. This is a company who chose crowdfunding as their first funding. They've received over almost €1 million in grants before, but now they decided to turn to their audience to invest in them. So basically, as you mentioned before, crowdfunding is a democratization. Not only you can reach other investors, but also other type of investors can reach you. And at the end of the day, we live a lot on this credo. This team, for instance, they launched a company in the 70s, and obviously it was very hard to invest in these people at this point in time. But if you would have invested, obviously it would have been a good investment. This is the first founding team of Microsoft. And obviously there's a lot of examples on similar, like for instance, this image. Would have you invested in these guys in 2004? Obviously, if you would have done it, it would have been an extremely good investment, because in the image you see Mark Zuckerberg, Eduardo Saverin, the founders of Facebook. My point is that when this picture was taken, and the other picture above, and the first picture I showed, is that nobody could believe that these guys would run the next big multi-billion company. There's a lot of hard work, a lot of coincidences, a lot of chances, a lot of opportunities, a lot of good timing, a lot of hard work. And there's 1,000 companies who are trying to be the next game changer right now. Obviously, I believe FundedByMe is one of those. Obviously, I believe crowdfunding is the next game changer. But my point here is that as an investor, you don't really know what the next big thing is. And if you invest in Facebook or Spotify or Uber when they listed, you might do 10, 5, 15% ROI. But what if you would have invested extremely early or earlier on? And this is what crowdfunding brings to the table. It's a technical tool to reach people with funds globally who want to invest in the next big thing. As mentioned before, there's no doubt that every investor on our platform, big or small, everybody wants to make money. The ROI is important. but also they're looking for the next unicorn. They're looking for the next Spotify, the next Facebook, the next Uber before listing. Something that we have found out through data is that VFI is as important as ROI, meaning value from investment. A lot of people who do invest, as mentioned, they want to make money, they want to make a profit, but they also want to have a value, an impact. Some people invest because they're seeing that this company is changing the world. Some people invest into, let's say, a food chain because they receive free food. So value from investment is always key takeaway in almost every investment, and regardlessly, everybody wants to make a good return on their investment. We're also seeing, of course, fearing of missing out, meaning that a lot of people want to invest in something because they don't want to miss a potentially good opportunity, and obviously also the bragging rights in quotes, which is, you know, the fact that you can say, I was there before they became big, I was there before they had this major breakthrough. And I think also that's why a lot of people invested in FundedByMe before they listed, because they wanted to be part of a bigger story. Obviously, a lot of people want to make a return on investment, but also they want to feel that they are part of a movement who is changing. And then, of course, on the funding part, we have seen now everything from food companies to tech companies to everything. And the money they raise is smart, because having 200 people in your court who fight for you, who become your brand ambassador, who open doors for you, that's huge. You know, that's an army of people who you don't need to pay, who work for you. Also, crowdfunding is a way cheaper way of raising funds than the traditional way. There's a lot of data that we show to the entrepreneurs, meaning that they can change strategies mid-race. If you are doing a traditional fundraising, you don't really know how a fundraising goes. While we have real-time data, and based on that, we can set strategies and also adapt strategies on the fundraising. It's also changing the stereotypes. Usually, as you know, there's very few, usually white men from central cities with a good education who are investors. This opens up a huge pool of people. I'm gonna dig into statistics a bit more, but on our platform, 26% of the investors, those who actually invest, are female, which is extremely good compared to the rest of the traditional market, but it's not good enough for us. We want to reach 50-50. And also, of course, we have a lot of people who come to us for the FundedByMe effect, which is basically the good exposure, the good strategy, having a lot of people in your court. So clients who want fundraising, which is cheaper, faster, global, active, and smart, they turn to us. On the bigger scale of levels, of course, we see disruption from going from centralized organizations to decentralized to distributed. This is something we also see now in the funding circles. As an example, you can look at the taxi industry. It went from having one node now to everybody being able to be a taxi driver. Or if you look at Airbnb or Facebook for that definition, we see this now also happening in the field of finances. You were dependent on a bank in the old days. Then you became dependent on a VC or an angel investor. Now you are independent. You're moving towards the distributed model where the wealth is distributed, and you can attract wealth or investors from all over the world in real time. So this is where we are moving as an industry, and I mean the entire fintech industry, everybody who works with financial technology, including banks, including fundraisings. And of course, once you open the door for digital, effective, and cheap fundraising, it's very, very hard to go back to the inefficient, expensive, slow, non-data-driven funding methods. A bit of our stats and clients. So as you see on our platform, the investors are 27% female out of 40% visitors. We are very strong in fashion tech, food tech, retail, healthcare. This is old stats. It's not from this year. Obviously, 2020 is a special year, but we did outperform so far our last year. We had less volume, so less entrepreneurs dared to raise money this year than previous years, but those who did do fundraising have succeeded over expectations. Right now, I think we have 6 companies on our site which are live, and all 6 are over 100%, and one I think actually just closed today from 700 investors. So something very, very important. A lot of people think crowdfunding is for small sums, which is not. We've raised everything from 1.5 million euros last year all the way down to 20,000 euros into a case. The average investment is 3,500 euros. The median is 370 euros. Quite big money can be raised. Obviously, we are very strong in the segment of fundraising around, let's say, 200,000 euros up to 500,000 euros. There's where we are strongest, where we have biggest volume. But we have done quite a lot bigger cases and quite a lot smaller also. FundedByMe is a tech company. We built this ourselves. This is born out of our tech roots. So I think the difference between us and a lot of competitors is that we are extremely data-driven. We measure a lot of data, and that data is a gold mine that we are tapping into more and more. And eventually we want to build this into a more sophisticated, data-driven fundraising methods. Right now we are quite advanced, even though for what we have, but as tech founders, we always want more and can do more. So this is the FundedByMe current presence at this point. Green is where we actually have an office or representatives. Corona has hit them hard. Obviously, it's tough to do business in countries like where the entire economy is shut down. But previously, these joint ventures not only gave us revenue, but also they gave us a lot of cases and investors. We had a case from Finland where 73% of the investors were non-Finnish. We had a case in Asia where 34% of the investors were non-Asian. And obviously, there's not one case on our platform who doesn't have investors from several countries. So this is just a bit of a screenshot a few days ago on the live cases right now. You can see we have a food tech company who does packaging without plastic. They had a huge retail store from Sweden as a lead investor. We have wireless electricity, which is, of course, is an ambitious dream. We have Weblogger run by Sweden's biggest YouTubers, and they are doing basically a simplified Amazon. We have a chocolate factory, I think one of Sweden's most tasteful companies. They have a turnover of 2.5 million euros, and they are fundraising now because of Corona, but also because they want to enter e-commerce a lot more. We have an app for veterinarians. We have organic beauty. So you can see all these are extremely popular. Some are on, actually when I took this screenshot, Leafy made on the top left, was it 175% of their fundraising, but I think they actually closed at 500% of their fundraising today. And of course, what is the future? I definitely think crowdfunding is the future. It's not going to change any system, but it's going to add to a void in the system. It's not going to retire the VC industry, but it's going to make the VC industry become more transparent, more inclusive. And if you look in Israel, for instance, crowdfunding has surpassed VC industries. So basically the Israeli model, which I think a lot of people will adapt even more, is where the crowdfunding is part of the fundraising, and you also have traditional angels or VCs. And we see that on FundedByMe. I would say right now that, let's say 60-70% of our cases that go live on FundedByMe on a regular basis have lead investors. Some are angels, some are micro VCs or such. And we get more and more queries now about filling funds with crowdfunding, do pre-IPO, shareholder distribution with crowdfunding, top filling with crowdfunding, basically where they raise 60-70% and they want the FundedByMe effect for the rest. Pressure cooking through crowdfunding, basically business angels telling an entrepreneur, go to FundedByMe, raise 100, 200,000, 300,000 euros, and then come back to us and we will top fill it. So we see quite a lot of that. And of course, we focus a lot on, this stereotype. This is just a stock image. It's not a guy I'm bashing, but for me, it's a symbol of the old-time investor, basically a guy where he went to beg for money, and based on his taste or knowledge, he and his peers decided what the next big thing is. So one part of the democratization of funding is also that you suddenly have millions of people who, through their wallets, through their investment, can decide what the next big thing is. Should Facebook be the next game changer, or should DuckDuckGo be the next game changer? So, right, a lot of people can decide what the next big thing is or who should run it. I'm going to end this with a bit of a preaching. When we started FundedByMe, one of our goals was to make sure that it was a fair game. If you look at me, my co-founder, in Sweden, we are worthless on paper, right? I'm a Romanian board art major. The fact that I came to Sweden when I was 12, that I'm an extreme hardworking entrepreneur, and my co-founder also, on paper, you don't see that. And we symbolize a lot of people who on paper are non-fundable, right? And now there's data. In Sweden, for instance, if you are a white guy close to the center of Stockholm and you have a good education and and your name sounds Swedish, you are at top of the funding startup hierarchy. The same criteria, but for a female with a male co-founder, you are 3 steps down on the stereotypical funding ladder. Well, if you're a female from a small city, let's say you are 35 years old and you have the wrong name, the wrong school, it's extremely hard to get funding. But nothing historically and nothing in the data doesn't say that that company couldn't be the next game changer, right? But the problem is that the current systems are not built to fund all these people. So 97% of the money goes to big companies, and the rest is distributed to what? 80% to stereotypical men. A lot of people right now are trying to change this. There's a lot of business angels and VCs who said that they want to change the world of funding, but on portals like ours, and I'm quite sure that Investor and Crowdcube are our counterparts in Europe, I'm quite sure that they can share this data, that crowdfunding not only enables funding, but it also democratizes. Everybody can raise funds and everybody can become a investor. And as a finish line, of course, I'm going to show you this image. Google started also somewhere. This was the second before they rebranded from Backrub. A lot of people don't know this, but at this point in time, Google or the previous Backrub was for sale for $1 million. I wish crowdfunding was available at that point. I'm quite sure that if crowdfunding would have been established, this company here, Backrub, which became Google, might have considered crowdfunding. And I think that the next Google right now is considering crowdfunding, maybe is using crowdfunding or will use crowdfunding. By that definition, we know, or we think, or we have a good hypothesis saying that the next big thing will be crowdfunded or will be considered crowdfunding. And this is a huge opportunity for a lot of people to take a bit of a risk. Of course, it's high risk, but it also could be a potentially high reward. And if the reward is not big monetarily, maybe the value for investment could be the one that attracts a lot of people.
Okay, great. And for me, your sound was a little bit dodgy on the last part, but maybe that will be better, hopefully. But good to be around. Also, for me, I've been working with venture and private equity in many years, and an entrepreneur like you, it's always a privilege to be around. So thank you for that presentation. I would like to start out asking you, when you look at Denmark, what do you prefer to sort of say to the Danish investors? We have this investor week, and I like the idea of you to be more democratic in the way that everybody can participate in smaller rounds. So give me a few lines, because I would like you to elaborate on both. What can Denmark do for you? Can we help you, like in getting more cases, getting more business into crowdfunding, or would you rather have more investors into your listed company?
Yeah, very good. So of course we love Denmark. We've been in Denmark. We had an office in Copenhagen, actually on the Bremen Theater, way back in the days, and then we had to shut down operations. So. Because the Danish law was not as favorable at that point. Of course, now there's a EU regulation, so things are different. So we actually have signed with UCCU in Denmark to work on finding cases to crowdfund. At this point, it's only the more mature companies that can use crowdfunding from Denmark. But obviously, we definitely think there's a collaboration here between Danish companies wanting to use crowdfunding and also Danish investors who want to invest in Swedish companies. And of course, our company is listed on the stock market, and if somebody believes in the future crowdfunding and believes that we have an edge, I honestly think that you should consider looking at the share price. Obviously, I can't give you advice if the share price is low or not, but everybody who looks at it can make their own calculations. But I think definitely we're just about to start a new collaboration between the Nordics because this new EU law just came in. So I think the future is extremely bright on this segment.
Okay, but let me know. Are you having any plans on going out raising more funds for your further journey, or are you at this stage like in balance?
Yeah, well, very good question. So as a company, all the crowdfunding portals in the world are in red numbers because of growth. You need to put a lot of money in growth and in tech. FundedByMe is just about to become profitable. And this is because this is our new strategy right now. We were supposed to be profitable March, April, May of this year, but then Corona hit. And now it looks brighter. Like we've done a lot of cost savings, which is hard to do, but we've done those. And also, of course, the technology is stable and the business during Corona has increased. So I'm not excluding the fact that we might raise money again if we want to do leaps. But right now we feel, at least for a while, comfortable. We just closed the funding round from the major shareholders. So I'm quite happy to see that the stock market still has faith in us, that they invest in us. And I definitely think, even though we've been around for 10 years, I definitely think that crowdfunding is just at the beginning of the curve. And FundedByMe is one of the leaders in this segment.
Okay, great. I think, for now, we are very happy that we actually learned to know you and the company. And what I would suggest is, as soon as Corona is not here as massive as now, that you come to Copenhagen and we do a session, hopefully, both live and on the air as this, and we can have an audience and we can actually go into both the crowdfunding, which is very interesting for the ecosystem, and of course also get the investors to ask you also some questions on the business and the actual business potential. So thank you very much, Daniel, for participating from Stockholm, and it's it's a pleasure to also experience this new thing. We do the television production, and there was a little bit of
I think you guys are awesome.
But we made it.
I just told you
thank you so much.
I'm very impressed by you guys. I think you did a good job. Thank you for having me, and I'm definitely looking forward to come physically to Copenhagen. I really love Denmark, so we'll see a lot of each other in the future.
Thank you so much. And back in Danish. Tak til jer, der har set med ude. Det var rigtig fint, og skulle I have spørgsmål, så er I super velkomne til at stille dem, og jeg sender dem videre til Daniel også. Så det var inspirerende.